So, Sophie, thank you so much for agreeing to talk to me today. It's an absolutely extraordinary story, and I know that the people who are listening are going to find it hugely beneficial. And some people might even not recognize that they're going through certain things until they listen to this conversation, which I think is going to be really valuable.
Lovely.
So, I want to start right at the beginning of your story. Um, I know that you lived in a house where there were mental health problems, and in fact, your mum committed suicide when you were 16. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. My background, my father was in the military. He was a navigator. He flew the Top Gun aeroplanes up to the Gulf War. And my mum had mental health issues, which bizarrely I wasn't really aware of. Apparently when I was 6, she had a breakdown. I knew that she went into hospital because I went to visit her, but she had electric shock treatment back in the day. And I think back in the day then, electric shock treatment was, the kind of medicine to help people get out of their depression. But then I went to boarding school, and I was quite unaware of, again, what was going on. And then when I left boarding school, I realized that my mum was really, really struggling when I was about 15, 16. And we were living in Germany on a military base. And life was very different and very challenging. We'd moved from the UK. She wasn't seeing her kids so much. And so she was struggling on all different levels. And back in the day, this was 1988, they were prescribing antidepressants which were really challenging to everyone who was taking them, and it made them obviously suicidal. And unfortunately, she couldn't fight the battle anymore, and unfortunately took her life when I was 16. So it was a really strange concept because I was so young. I couldn't really understand it. My dad was obviously playing on the battlefield constantly, and my mum was living this weird life because she'd been removed from the UK to a military base in Germany. But she always looked beautiful and always looked very lovely, always helping people all the time. And so there were never immediate signs that she had mental health issues. But obviously when I became older, I understood that this had been going on throughout my life. And I think that's what's happening right now. People are still putting on their makeup and looking gorgeous, but not really letting anyone know that they're really, really struggling. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're going to come on and talk about the COVID situation and how that's affecting mental health later. But I
Yeah.
know it took you quite a long time to get to grips with what had happened, didn't it? And
Sure.
you eventually ended up working in real estate and meeting a guy there who was your boss, who was a 5 times Thai kickboxing champion. And that inspired you. You'd always been sporty, but it
Yeah.
inspired you to take up the sport.
Correct. Yeah. So yeah, after my mother committed suicide a couple of years later, after being trained up in the gym on the military base, which was a fabulous experience. But then I moved back to the UK and had a few, ups and downs because of the trauma of the loss, and then lost my nan, and then my dad was in the Gulf War, and everything was very unstable. And then I fortunately landed a job in real estate and health and wellness on a private estate in Marylebone in London, with sports facilities and all private. And my boss was 5 times world champion Thai kickboxer. And he really inspired me. And that's what I really love about certain leaders, that really inspire their teams. And he was a mentor. I really looked up to him, and he was like, "Soph, come and try this." He owned the biggest and the best Thai boxing gym in the world, and he was based in London. He was my boss. I was like, this is a dream. But I wasn't a fighter, so it was all really weird for me. I mean, who wants to go and do Thai kickboxing? Anyway, so I bit the bullet and I went to the gym, and I got into the ring with a girl, and she punched me to the ropes. It was like a Hollywood movie. And I saw stars. I thought, God, no one's going to knock me down. And it gave me the real oomph to go, right, I'm going to do this. And I just looked around the gym and everyone was training to this clock and this bell kept going off. And I was like, this is like, and then everyone stopped for 1 minute and then the bell went and everyone, I was like, what's going on here? But what really inspired me was the diversity of being in this space where there were people from all over the world, different creeds and colors and sexualities, from people who had master's degrees to people that had nothing, to people that were in law and in business, to people that were just trying to do the best that they can. And everyone was in the same space, in the same room. And that really kind of turned me on. I thought, right, I'm going to do this. Punching a bag can really help me with my anger and pain from the trauma. So I was able to then train really hard, and he was my boss, and link it in with business as well.
Just amazing. What is the difference between Thai kickboxing and normal kickboxing, Sophie?
Great question. Thai kickboxing is a martial art. It comes from Thailand, developed in the Siam Wars in the 1600s. And you use you use two punching, you use elbows, you use your knees and kicks. Okay. Boxing is obviously just punching, and kickboxing, you add the legs on. So kickboxing is just punch and kick. Thai boxing, you add in elbows and knees, and that's your martial art. So kickboxing is not really a martial art. It's a derivative of Thai kickboxing.
Oh, wow. Okay. And as you said, it really, really helped you to get rid of your anger and to come to terms with what had happened.
Yeah, I mean, I was really suffering. And back in the day, so this is the 90s, you know, therapy, I didn't really want to go to therapy, although I did a tiny bit. I don't know, I was kind of sort of walking through life, but having this deep sadness, this deep pain, this deep suffering. And I couldn't really do anything with it. I didn't know where to go with it. And I had no support family because my father was still in Germany, and I had no one really. I have a brother who's amazing, but he has mental health issues as well now. So it's all a challenge. And yeah, so I just used it to focus myself rather than going to the pub every night or going out all the time. I thought, I'm just going to go to the gym for 2 hours every night. And because it was there, and I made the decision to just focus into working and training and working and training and working and training. And with the training, I was getting super fit. I was just eating better. I was just feeling amazing. I felt great at work in my suits in the day, and I wasn't going in with a hangover, which most people do. And so I just thought, this is great for my lifestyle. And I was looking good, and I just felt really amazing. And that was really powerful for me to feel like that, like a natural high.
Yeah, but it wasn't just a hobby and a focus, was it? Because, I mean, you ended up being a black belt and then becoming world champion yourself.
Yeah. So because obviously I got addicted to this, I was training 6 days a week. And obviously he was my boss. So we worked together for 12 years in the same office. So I could run at lunchtime. And I just, because we were all fit together, I think you kind of feed off your environment, don't you? So, not that if he ate chips or bad food or whatever every day, I would, because I was always fit and healthy anyway. But, it just helped. So I was allowed to go running at lunchtime or do a circuit or go and do some weights. But yeah, so because I was able to train, I then received my black belt, which was a great sort of accolade. And then I was teaching around London, 40, 50 students a night. And then I helped expand his club because I'm a female in this male environment. And it became very powerful. So now I'm coaching females and males who are in all the corporate companies in London. And the club just grew and grew and grew into professional people being our students. So then they went to work every day in their offices, and they came to our sessions in the evening. We're in Covent Garden and all over London, and all the health clubs had a team of coaches. And then I was obviously competing. And then after a few years, then I got my World Kickboxing Association champion, and that was great. But I never wanted to really focus on the fighting. I was into what this does for us as human beings, and that's where my passion then went.
What was it like becoming champion?
Oh, it's great. I mean, look, you work so hard, and the training is just so intense. And, we were kind of on this fighting machine. So you've heard of, are you in your fighting fit stage? We were always fighting fit. So, and because Bill was my boss, he would go, right, so you're fighting on Saturday, someone's pulled out. Or, right, in 2 weeks' time, you've got to drop 3 kilos because you've got to fight in this weight category. So we were constantly just on the roll of this. And when you win your titles, obviously it's great. It's a real kind of achievement, just like with anything that you achieve in life. Yeah.
A real pinnacle. I know that you totally fell in love with Thailand as well, didn't you? You go every year, and you have done for 25 years because you love the culture so much. And in fact, I know that one of the things that you were very passionate about was bringing more of that culture back here to help people who maybe hadn't experienced it before. And I know that myself from my first trip to Asia. It was absolutely life-changing. But I would love to hear from you a bit more about that and what you feel the Asian culture, and in particular Thailand, can bring to us here in the West.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about that, because that's been my main kind of attribute bringing into the brand of Kick, which helps so many people. So I started going in my early 20s because I wanted to feel the culture of this art that I was doing every day now. And I just love the simplicity, the authenticity. It's so ethical over there. The people are amazing. But it was about their philosophy of their lives and how they lead their lives, whether they have no money or whether they're affluent in Thailand. They have daily rituals that they follow. They have daily philosophies that they work towards, and everything's quite simple. And I really like that. We're in a Western world that's full of materialism. We work in corporate companies where everyone's trying to get to the top and backstab, and how can we be more holistic with our approach in business and life, with our work colleagues and our family? And so what I've done with the Kick brand is bring those Far Eastern philosophies and daily rituals and habits and infuse them into this Western way of being and living and actually thinking. It's our mindset. But I just love the culture there. I mean, I'm sure loads of people who's watching this has been to the Far East, whether it's Indonesia, Bali, India. I've been to all of these countries, and they have this baseline of grounding. Like we used to have the church, we don't have that anymore. People go to church every Sunday, and that was their grounding, where they meet people. It's community, it's togetherness, it's family. And we seem to have lost that in the Western world, and the Far Eastern world still really have this. And I find it, this is what we're lacking. So I've brought this into the Kick lifestyle system. And over the years, I've built up a strong community and help people feel grounded, feel supported, have a community that actually works on every level, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. Yeah.
Amazing. Now, look, if we go back to your career at this point, you got headhunted, didn't you, by the top guy at Goldman Sachs and his wife to go and help them. And you had this real moment of revelation where you suddenly thought, actually, these high performing individuals really need help to get rid of their stress. And that turned into a brand new business, didn't it?
It did, yeah. Yeah, I was now working in the city, private coaching in London, and in a private gym there, just in Finsbury Square, and so was using my method. I was sort of just testing everything out, because no one had done what I had done. I was mixing in Thai boxing, with weights and circuits and stretching and massage and oil. And also, because of my sort of mini life experience at this point, I was able to coach people through sort of struggles with work or family or relationships or loss. And obviously, because I'm a female in this male dominated sport, I was bringing sort of the holistic feminine touch in. And then I obviously, word got around, and then I was headhunted by one of the heads of Goldman Sachs back at the time, Ron Bella. And then I went into coaching him and his wife. He was MD of Goldman Sachs, and she was the advisor to Golden Brown back in the day. And then that led me into this other world, this other arena, because I'm now coaching very highly driven individuals, high powered at their jobs, but also they're operating on a really high level. And what do they need to keep them grounded, to keep them focused, but also to get rid of their stresses and strains of life. And so that was interesting. And then obviously that took me then into their friend set and their business people. And then I just created this system that seemed to work for these high challenged individuals. Because when you're dealing at that level, you need something that's going to challenge you as well, but also bring you down. Yeah.
You know, I say often to the assistants when we're talking about stress in my training, that the reason that if you're really high powered, you go and do exercise actually has not an awful lot to do with the exercise and far more to do with the mental health.
Correct. Yeah. And we've all heard of this saying, always put your oxygen mask on first. And I think that saying is really powerful in these current times, because we have to look after ourselves first before we look after anyone else. And as a leader, we need to put that oxygen mask on, which is, you either go training, or you're walking, or you're out with the dog, or you're having that downtime, because mental health right now is absolutely key. And taking those moments out with yourself, it's like putting a meeting in with yourself in the diary. And I have to do this with my clients. I'm like, you need to put a meeting in with yourself. When you're not with me, you put the meeting in, and that is your 20 minutes where you take a call and go for a walk, or you stand up at your desk for half the day rather than sitting down. Because over time, if we're not doing that, we hit a build up, and then the build up equals breakdown. We need to prevent that.
And we're going to talk about that, because, I know that you were absolutely at the height of your career there, really, looking after all these amazing people, and you'd got your world champion award and all that stuff. And then you broke. You had a breakdown 14 years after your mother had died. And right. I guess that was probably because you weren't taking your own advice of putting your oxygen mask on first.
Yeah, well, what was really interesting with that, Lucy, and also almost like the pinnacle of the setup of my brand, and why it's become successful with these marrying these different things together, is that, in your 20s, you just think you're invincible, don't you? You're kind of, I can do this and I can do that, and I don't need to sleep, or or you don't think that you're ever going to run out of steam, and you're kind of trying to deal with things, and you don't know how to, so you're just like, okay, I'll just go and do another workout, or I'll just go and do another blah. And and I always remember, I thought I could never really sit still and be with myself. I always had to be with other people or in the gym or working or doing another deal or whatever it was to get my buzz. And then, unfortunately or fortunately, I went through the same situation as my mum with a friend, because I was with my mother. Unfortunately, I found her, and this happened with a friend of mine. Fortunately, she was okay, and in the end, but it trigger shocked what I had not dealt with, and that was interesting. So I hadn't dealt with it emotionally and mentally. I was dealing with it physically and practically. So that was interesting. So obviously that triggered, and then I had the breakdown for probably about 3 or 4 years where I couldn't really move, I couldn't get out of bed, but I had to pay the mortgage, and I had clients. So I would literally, clients go back to bed, clients go back to bed, eat, and then I thought, right, how am I gonna, I couldn't even train, I couldn't skip, I couldn't tie box, I couldn't run, I could only walk, I could do a bit of yoga. And I wasn't really into yoga back then, but then I thought, do you know what, I'm going to get into it. I need the yin now from my yang. And so I just ate really lightly, just fish and veg, or fish and salad and chicken, really small amounts, because I was just suffering. And then I just started doing yoga and walking. And that's all I could do for quite a while. And then I just had to go through what I needed to go through, post-traumatic stress disorder, everything. And I thought, do you know what? So you've just got to go down and deal with the sort of garbage that's going on and get through it, the best, boom, and then kind of come out of it. And all I knew is that it was time. I couldn't fix it now. I had to go through the process, and time would then allow, if I'm good to myself, I will come out the other end. And I was a fighter, and I thought, do you know what, I'm going to do this. This isn't going to take over me, because I know that I'm meant to be like this, and now I'm like that. And so that was really interesting, and that sort of went on for 3 or 4 years, and then I just started coming out of it, and then I was able to then figure a few things out, and I was like, well, I haven't got my gym anymore. I'm not in that community. How am I going to, get back to where I used to be? And then I was like, what have I trained to all my life? The clock, the buzz, the rounds on the gym. And I was like, this is the Kick 4-minute round. And then that's how I created the Kick 4-minute round workout.
Can you explain that 4-minute round thing? Because you explained it to me, but we haven't gone through that yet here, because I think it's important. I went and looked at your app, and it's amazing, and anybody can do it. And we're going to talk about that more in a moment. But talk me through why the 4-minute rounds and how it works.
Yeah, sure. So back in the professional gyms and the boxing gyms, and this clock is there, and it has been there for ages, and it will be there forever. There's a clock on the wall, and it buzzes at 0, and then you train for 3 minutes of doing any workout in that. So it could be 30-second sit-ups, 30-second push-ups, 30-second stretch, or a minute skip, or shadow boxing or Thai boxing. And then the buzzer goes after the 3rd minute, and then everyone stops. And I mentioned this earlier at the beginning of this interview, is that the buzzer goes and everyone stops. And in that minute, everyone has a drink, they stretch. And then after the minute, at the 12 again, at the 0, the buzzer goes and everyone starts training again. So in the Thai boxing, you're on your bag for 3 minutes, or everyone's skipping for 3 minutes, or you're sparring for 3 minutes, or doing sit-ups for 3 minutes. So that as a concept, as a minimal viable product, is 1 round is 4 minutes. But we were obviously training for 12 rounds, for 24 rounds. 12 rounds is 48 minutes. And we were in the gym for about 2 hours. So the clock's just on. It's just there as the masterpiece. And so I've always trained to that clock. And it made me obviously a black belt and a world champion, Kickboxing Association champion. And when I had the breakdown, I lost a lot of weight, but I also put on a lot of weight. I went to 95 kilos, and it helped me get back down to where I am now. So I thought, this is amazing. It got me up to here, but it also brought me down from here. And what did I always go back to? The clock, the round. And so in my coaching, I deal with a lot of people who are obviously immensely overweight and need to lose weight, but don't want to go to the gym and don't want to put the outfit on, to people that are struggling with mental health issues, that the thought of going to the gym or training for half an hour is too much. So I've broken the whole system down and gone, anybody can train a kick 4-minute round every day. So then everyone's succeeding. They're not going, oh my God, I went to train for half an hour, but I could only do 10 minutes. I'm just going to just do one round. And if you want to do another one, that's 8 minutes. And if you want to do another one, great, that's 12 minutes. And if you want to do yoga, great. If you want to punch, great. If you want to skip, great. If you want to just meditate and breathe, you've given yourself that time, which is putting your oxygen mask on first.
It's amazing. And you can download the app. It's Kick Lifestyle. And I know you're going to do a few sessions for us over this next 48 hours so that people can try it out, and we shall drop them in if you go look at your timetable. But I think the key here is that it's Kick Lifestyle. It isn't just Kick Thai boxing. And actually you've taken the things that you talked about in terms of food and in terms of yoga and various other things and have added it into that, haven't you?
Yeah, so Kick Lifestyle is a 360-degree experience to mental and physical health and well-being. And so by marrying the Far Eastern philosophies of Thai boxing, yoga, stretching, breathing, meditation, and food, and I've married them with the Western concepts of HIIT training, weight skipping, you know, all the, you know, jacks and sit-ups and weights, you know, it's all over here as well. But I've just married it together. And obviously we have a Kick kitchen, food planning as well. So we have a structure that really works for people as well, which is different to obviously other fee structures that are out on the market. I just think that holistic approach, and just recognizing that we're human beings, we're all busy, most people hate working out and training. So how can I make people fall in love with training? Because it's the most important thing that we need to do, especially right now. And my clients say, Sophie, thank you so much. You've helped me fall in love with training. I love it now. I just want to, I couldn't even imagine living my day and my week without training now.
You know, you're so right that there's never been a more important time for this. I mean, quite apart from the being locked down and not able to get out and therefore not able to take daily exercise for very many people, there's so much mental stress. And, you know, particularly for those of our assistants that are parents that are trying to juggle a home life and schooling at home and then work and being at the right place at the right time, but also in the case of assistants trying to manage their executives as well and manage their stress, because many of the executives are out there trying to save the world and are incredibly stressed because they've never been through a situation like this before. So I wondered if you could possibly give us some advice for the assistants out there that are trying to manage their executives' mental health and how you would advise them to try and get on top of that a bit, but B, then some advice for the assistants themselves. Obviously, we would suggest they download the app, but apart from that.
Yeah, well, I think it's, first of all, it's recognizing that you actually need to do it. And it's hard because there's a whole accountability issue going on. You know, we all need to be accountable. And, you know, when you're not accountable to anyone, like what you go, well, what's the point in doing it? I think we need to work through that and go, you know what, I need to do this for not only myself. I need to show my boss that I'm taking care of myself now. Then that will obviously inspire him and then bring that into his life and his family's life. And then you bring that into then your life. But it's to make that decision. Anything starts with a decision, doesn't it? We can all go, we'll do that tomorrow or next week. But we want to start now. We want to go, right, I'm going to take action now. And that might be just going for a walk. That might, I do with clients, and they're like, they get up and they're all like, you know, they've all got kids, they're MDs of their own companies, they've got the husband, everything's going on, the dogs, the cats, the gerbils, whatever. And they get up, and I had a call the other day, and they get up, and if they miss their kick 4-minute round or whatever, they get up and they just go to the desk. How many of us get up too late and then you just open the laptop and you start working, and then that just carries on and on and on throughout the day, and you go to bed, and some people have had a bottle of wine, and then you get up and then you're groggy and you're boom. I think what it is to look at your 24 hours in a day and go, right, what time am I at my desk? Some people it's 7, some people it's 8, some people are like, okay, well, I've got to get up that little bit earlier. It's getting the hygiene of your sleeping patterns in, the hygiene of your eating patterns correct, and then the hygiene of your physical activity. And once you can schedule that into your diary, 4 minutes at a time, the consistency of that 4 minutes, or that walk, or going for a walk before the laptop you open up, over the next 2, 3, 4 weeks, I have amazing results in just 30 days with clients on programs with me, and they just cannot believe it. But they're accountable to me, and same in my groups. But you can do that on your own, have that accountability. And so I just say, you just got to get moving. You've just got to make that time and be accountable to yourself or your friends or me or whoever. Yeah.
So after all of that, after all that amazing story, you're back on the top of the world. You're an ambassador now for martial arts globally. You've obviously got this hugely successful app, which is making waves all over the world. What's next for you, Sophie?
Well, yeah, we've got the Kick Lifestyle app that obviously has all the Kick 4-minute round workouts on, but it's also a learning platform. So I have nutritionists talking about food for mental health, for gut health. I have an array of top coaches that I've chosen who have all gone through their own struggles in life. I think that's really key as a coach. You know, you've gone through something that has enabled you to get through it. But I think, you know, what's next for me? I just think my mission is to make people happier and healthier by doing a Kick 4-minute round every day, changing people's lives 4 minutes at a time. Whether that's people downloading the app, which is really cheap, to, you know, me taking this into corporate companies. I obviously train people at a high level on one-on-one. My goal is to get my philosophy reach out to the masses, because I know over my almost 3 decades of being in this industry how much this has helped the people that I've reached so far. So I'm just about reach now.
Just fantastic. And as I said, we're going to give you all the opportunity to try it out over the next couple of days, which I'm very excited about. But in the meantime, Sophie, it's been an absolute honor to speak to you. And it's been so great to hear your story and to be able to share it with our audience. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. I feel honored to be with you. Thank you very much, Lucy.
Thank you. All good.
You're great, you are. I mean, clearly, but you know, you are brilliant at your skill. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.